Hello everybody, I am The Worm, and welcome back to Raging Loop. Yes indeed, we are back. After taking a short intermission, I have decided to continue playing the game. I've let it sit for a couple days, and I've been kind of busy, so this video might come out a bit late. I'll see if I can get it out on the day. But yes, here we are. And before we begin again, I want to thank the people who commented. I really appreciate it, and having thought things over, I think it's pretty easy to make, a pretty easy decision to make. And there were a few of the highlights were essentially, well, this game came out in 2015. It's been a long time. You know, if you were gonna get it or play it, you've kind of had that amount of time to do so. Also, the fact that apparently there are other playthroughs of this game currently on YouTube that have done the whole thing. Now, of course, I myself did not go out looking for those. You know, these days it feels like a lot of people will put spoiler images on the, you know, on their thumbnails, or even in the title, and if you search for it even, then your YouTube algorithm gets becomes such that you could get recommended, you know, more videos which may again have potentially spoiler materials. But knowing that there are quite a few other playthroughs of this game out there that have gone through and they are seemingly fine is good to know. So there is some precedent for this. I probably didn't need to worry about it too much. It's just the first time I've ever run into this sort of thing, and I didn't want to, you know, cause damage or step on any toes or stuff like that, but it doesn't seem like I needed to worry all that much. And I gotta say, one of the other top reasons was I just really wanted to. I've enjoyed playing this game in the way I have been, you know, in a Let's Play format, and talking about what's going on and hearing what you guys have to say, so that's been great, and I'm glad to continue it. So I'm especially glad because we are heading to Kami Fujiyoshi. We may start getting some answers. Now, I don't know how to judge how far along we are. You know, some games have a kind of, at least going off my experience of some of the visual novels I've played, sometimes there's a divide between, you know, the what would it be? Questions arc, answers arc, you know, that sort of thing. I don't know if this game follows that. Like, you know, starting now, we're going to be getting definitive answers. I don't know. It still feels somewhat early to me. I think we need to go through a few more loops. So at least I hope. I hope there's quite a bit more to this game, and I think someone has said that in the past, that the amount of the game that is beyond the stopping point is quite substantial. So I hope it is, because I'm intrigued. I want to know. I want to understand. So let's stop hanging around here, shall we? And let's actually get into this. Okay, here we are. Got to get back into it. A 30-minute drive from this point would lead me to Fujiyoshi, or rather, Kami Fujiyoshi, the place that wasn't too popular among Yasumizu's people. Okay, yes, I did remember there was a choice. I didn't remember. It's not a choice for us right now. It's just the one. So we'll need a few more keys. Okay, speaking of, I don't think I actually ever looked at the one key we got Which key did we get? Oh, we only have 2 right now. So I guess it was 4. Let's see. As an outsider, I was both protected and a pariah. Thus, the feast ended in failure, and the cruel wolves declared their perfect victory. We tried to defy the law and flee the village. But what we found was none other than Yomi itself. Apparently, Chemi's body fell apart, while Mako and I met with supernatural deaths. This result is unacceptable. Either I win the feast, or what? Or what? Okay, so let's do this. I have a little. It's not a theory so much as a guess at this point, I guess. Of there being some sort of Kama Fujiyoshi conspiracy here, so I'm eager to see it. Let's do this.
Oh, 家だ.
My time estimate was more or less right. After 30 or so minutes, I began seeing houses between the hills and the trees. I eventually left the forest, and I could see as well as anyone could in the middle of the night. It was already raining, and I knew it'd only get worse. I had to do something before that happened. There were next to no city lights, and not a single house I could see was lit up either. However, unlike Yasumizu, the destitute place where most of the houses had been from wood, the houses here were modern. The road was well paved too. I could even see some bus stops and vending machines, emphasizing that this was modern Japan.
宿があるとしても、この時間に突然素泊まりができるとは思えないな。
Some would think there was a way for me to at least get a roof over my head. Did I read that right? Some would think there was a way for me to at least get a roof over my head. But I knew I was just a city dweller. I knew that was just a city dweller. Yeah, misconception. It's only been like 2 days. Why am I screwing up? Same went for the idea that rural folk were nice enough to let you stay if you just asked nicely. That was just pure delusion. In actuality, rural areas were subject to local legends and traditions, with many of the residents believing good, peaceful lives were only possible thanks to their protection. Of course, that wasn't always wrong, but that was also the reason why many rural people were so cold to outsiders. Hell, this was a village so behind the times, it still had a settlement for the ostracized, which they discriminated against so badly. This place was probably even more insular than your average rural village. They wouldn't take kindly to an outsider like me, and they would be wary the entire time I stayed here. I could only imagine how strongly they'd react if some brown-haired man suddenly drove in on a bike and... Hello, officer. Lovely evening we're having. Was I some sort of idiot? Like the city boy I was, I just went in there thinking it'd all just work out. And now I'd caught the attention of a police officer. Well, I doubted he'd arrest me or anything, but the fact that there was some weirdo who invaded the village in the middle of the night would spread among the people here in less than a day. Now I'd be treated like a criminal if I wanted to talk to anyone here. The officer looked middle-aged, but what stood out about him was the fact that he seemed like the most generic meathead old man from the countryside. He told me to sit down here and wait till he came back. I could only imagine the chewing out I was in for. Still, I was pretty sure that passing Kama Fujiyoshi was one of the main conditions here. I could clearly remember. I had memories of this. Oh wait, what if it... maybe not. I just had a thought. What if he goes there... What if he does something in Kama Fujiyoshi that gets him exiled? And he gets exiled, and so that when he gets to Yasumizu, he's accepted among the people? I don't know. Probably a bit of a stretch. I would imagine you'd probably have to be from Kama Fujiyoshi to be exiled. But, I don't know. Funny thought. Hisako Mamiya and Yudai Hashimoto came there through the normal route, and they weren't considered a problem. Yeah, okay. So probably not exiled. We'll probably just pass through. They died on the first day of the feast, but that wasn't because they were outsiders. They just violated the feast's rules. They either hadn't cleansed themselves, sheltered all alone, or dreamed. My assumption was that before it all happened, they'd stayed at an inn in Kamafujiyoshi. They'd only come to Yasumizu on the day for the sake of an article. Unfortunately for them, the mist came and the landslide happened, making it impossible for them to go back to Kamafujiyoshi by car. Then everyone started sheltering, and no one came to help them. Yeah. Yeah. Even Takumi-san had tried to cut me off because I was an outsider. Giving me a way to survive, however improvised, was probably a huge risk for Chiemi. I had to keep that in mind. Back to the journalists, though. They'd ended up abandoned in the village plaza, clueless about what was happening. What had they done then? They'd obviously chosen to spend the night in the van. I had no idea how Hashimoto-shi and Mamiya-san fit in there together, but since they hadn't slept alone, they'd broken the shelter rule. Hell, I wasn't even sure if the van was a solid source of shelter to begin with, even if locked. That was probably why Hashimoto-shi's body was found in the van. And since Hisako Mamiya had probably roamed around at night, she'd broken the dream rule. I had no idea why she'd gone outside, but it could have been something simple, such as nature calling, or a search for a better place to sleep. Of course, as a journalist, she might have smelled a scoop in this ominous village and gone out to gather info. Not to mention, they couldn't have taken a bath in their situation, so they obviously hadn't cleansed themselves. And so she died at the hands of that thing. Now, about what happened to me. I died once after leaving the outdoor toilet. Dying because I'd gone outside was understandable, but honestly, I wasn't sure if that toilet even counted as inside. I'd bet that it didn't. And of course, I hadn't bathed or slept, so I broke all the rules. And yet I'd survived. What had made my situation different then? It was whether I'd been found by that thing or not. Upon seeing me, it recognized me as a rule breaker and executed me. But when it hadn't found me, I'd survived despite breaking all the rules. Interesting thought. So the corruption isn't this sort of omnipresent entity that is surveilling everyone at once. You're suggesting... Okay, interesting. That meant that the sheltering law was simply a method to keep the werewolf-like thing from finding you. The time I'd survived, it'd try to force its way in, but failed. Nothing had happened to me because I was locked in, but if the lock was broken or something, I'd have easily been found and killed. Now, hang on. You're telling me this huge thing couldn't bust in a lock on a rural village outhouse? Okay. Basically, you could avoid the monster just by properly locking yourself in somewhere. Something about that sounds off to me. Oh. It's incredible how 2 days can throw you off balance. I don't even have my notes up. Let's do that real quick. Oopsie daisy. Let's write this down. We're gonna say this is gonna be just a thought on Haruaki's part. An interesting thought, but it just seems a bit odd to me. Meiko was proof of that. She was a lost tribe tribe. She was a lost child who'd come from the hated Saranaga, but she'd survived all the way up to the end without succumbing to the corruption. That meant the important thing there was to get a lockable residence in Yasumizu with a bath. And that was exactly why arriving via the normal route was necessary. If I'd come from Saranaga again, most of the inhabitants would treat me with a distrust and discuss driving me away. But if I was a person who'd arrived through Kamafujiyoshi for whatever reason, they'd be willing to accommodate. Meiko was probably only given a place because she was young and because Rokako Uematsu had protected her. I couldn't expect a similar treatment. Rokako Uematsu preemptively gave a house to Meiko, to a small child like her. That made it seem like she knew the mists and the feast would come. I'd think more on that later, though. It could be that she'd given her a key right after the mists came. Yeah, at least for me personally, as part of the Kamafujiyoshi conspiracy theory, Rokako would have to be part of it. I think. Oops. Anyway, if I could be like Meiko and get a proper place to stay in, I'd have the right to participate in the Feast of the Yomi Purge. That's right, Meiko did participate. I'd be able to listen in on the talks myself, instead of relying on Chiemi, and be able to contribute my own thoughts. I'd also be able to learn much more about the feast. That'd mean a lot, considering that some of the people there, especially the elders, wouldn't want to talk about Yasumizu's problems with those outside the feast. A part of me wanted to avoid another tragedy, but the part of me that wanted to find out what was behind this mystery was equally strong. That monster, and the thing that allowed me to still be here, this looping phenomenon, were the main mysteries here. Though, I did have some questions about the monster. It hadn't found me when I'd locked myself in the toilet. It was probably just curious why it was locked. Couldn't a monster with a wolf head just track me by scent? And that's interesting, the other thing he just said. I mean, if we're what, thinking it's a mundane and it wasn't. I mean, we saw a creature. I think in the intermission video I jokingly said, Takumi in a wolf suit. I mean, because Haruaki saw a wolf. Or a, man-wolf. Werewolf. So, but, I don't know. If we're going with the silliest idea that it's a guy in a wolf suit, what, do you think he just needed to go to the bathroom and found it was locked and was like, oh, well, dang. Went somewhere else? Why did it half-ass the job? Its failure to eliminate me only made the inhabitants more suspicious of me. There were no feast laws regarding outsiders. That was why it was best for us to just not be present. Looking at the current laws, those who didn't have a place to stay were outsiders, and they had to be removed because of that. This system worked fine for the most part, but then there was me, a proper breach. If that monster meted out the corruption, it was on the side of the great Lord Shinai. As such, it should have used some divine powers or whatever to address the problem. Also, it seemed to me like they'd had the power to unlock doors. Man, this was getting confusing. It had the power to unlock doors. Are we referring to that creature we saw with Chiemi? When the door was opened, did we lock that door? I'd have to go back and check, I'm not sure. Last time, the wolves were Yasunaga Oribe and Tai Yamawaki. According to the legend, they had been replaced by wolves who'd come back from the dead, but their story was completely different. They said they were normal people who had wolves as their guardians. That meant that the thing couldn't have been Yasunaga-kun or Tai-san. It was more like an agent of the same side as whatever granted them their powers. I had no idea why they were granting the protection of the Guardians, but from what I could tell, Guardians were like fragments of divine power. And if you were on the same side as the one who granted those powers, couldn't you just use the unlocking power whenever you wanted? Why would a supernatural being make such a careless mistake? Any assumptions made beyond this point would just be grasping at straws and bias in my observations. I'd just stop there for now. Yeah, I was thinking, after that first night where he survived in the outhouse and then he went up to meet with everyone else in the dining hall, Konzo said something like, he's not Haruaki. Haruaki's not subject to the mountain's laws and thus would have to be subject to Yasumizu's laws. Something like that. So I was thinking, you know, I didn't know if the looping power was a part of this or not. But I was thinking, at least for that particular game or loop, that he was kind of, you know, off limits or off the playing field, or you know, I don't know what metaphor you want to use here. But that seems to be a false idea on my part. So Haruaki's saying all of it still applied. It just seems that whatever supernatural being this is made a mistake somehow. Anyway, it was imperative I got myself a place to stay. What was I doing here anyway? I'd been theorying about this and that for almost half an hour now. Dawn was close. I only had a little over 10 hours until the mist came, and I had to find a secure place to stay within that time. That was a hard thing to begin with, but as things stood, it was outright impossible. Did I have to run away? What if I just ran away to Yasumizu, said I came from Kamafuji Yoshi like it was no big deal, and asked them to let me live there? Well, they had enough imagination to suspect me. I definitely needed someone from Kamafuji Yoshi to vouch for me, and for that, I had to find something that could turn this around. I looked around the police box. A tidy desk, a rotary phone. This felt like the place of an officer from the mid-20th century. There were wanted posters on the walls. Oh, they'd caught that guy. One of the men even had the look of a criminal. And that one... Serial killer, eh? Serial killer. In a rural village. That's not too good. And it was possible he was lurking in the area, huh? That was pretty freaky. Okay. I guess we'll write that down. Serial killer in area. Uh-huh. Do you want to describe what the guy looks like, Haruaki? No? Okay. Finally, I heard some noise, the door opened, and the officer returned. Hey, I'm a good citizen, sir.
逃げてよかったんですか?
He wasn't one to mess around.
いえ、別に僕に後ろ暗いところはありませんので。
名前は？
房石春明です。工房の棒に岩石の石で房石。太陽のように明治の明で春明。
Just gave it all. Gave the full description here.
房石。変わっとる名前だな。まさか偽名じゃなかろうな。
I wouldn't know. Rude.
東京もんか。
ええ、まあ、そうですけど。
It was like anyone weird was from Tokyo to them. Some serious stereotyping there. He was right, though.
年は
24です。
あ？仕事は
学生ですよ。
大学か。頭が良うても常識はないな。
Seems like it, I guess. I just drove on the road at night. That was so unfair. I wanted to talk back so badly.
で、なんで来た？
He lowered his voice a bit. That was the main matter here, and how he treated me would change depending on my answer. What angle did I have to take? Okay. How long have I been going? Not very long, actually. My goodness. Okay, so I'm gonna have to make this decision myself. Let's see. I find Got Lost is... It's not true now, but it would be true in a previous loop, the first one. Followed after your girlfriend. I guess then he would ask who the girlfriend is because, you know, why would she be here in this rural village, you know, out of nowhere? Let's just... Let's just very quickly do that so I have a quick thing. Let's just say I feel like this is more... He would accept this, you know. We're a random Tokyo student. Of course we got lost, you know. We're out here in the boonies, or whatever the equivalent is for Japan, the rural countryside. So let's do that. This feels like it's a bit too specific.
バイク旅行中に道に迷いまして。
And I mean, as I said, that was the truth earlier on. I just told him the truth, yeah. There's nothing shady about that, and telling him some cheap lies would only make him suspicious. That was my thought. He put on a threatening tone. I really wish he didn't stare at me like that. What, did he expect me to fall for him?
本当ですよ。もう何時間も山の中を迷ってて、ようやく見つけたコンビニで、やっとここのことを知って。
コンビニ？勧めたか、ここに来いと。
She hadn't told me to go to Kama Fujiyoshi, but she had told me about Yasumizu. I'd just tell the truth until the end.
なんか、山の中に地図にない集落があるとか言われて、そこはちょっとって言って、こっちを教えてもらったんです。
そりゃ奇妙な話だな。
Strange how?
あったんですかね、集落。
さあ、知らん。
Playing dumb, huh? That was clearly an act. He looked away. Man, this guy was honest.
まあ、わかった。本当に何でもないんだな。
ええ。
そうか。ま、こんな夜中に出歩いて疑われるようなことはもうせんようにな。
I'd have appreciated an apology for treating with so much suspicion, but I had more important things to talk about.
なのですみませんが、一晩泊めていただけないかと。
よし、道を教えてやろう。
No dice. Huh?
いえ、もうヘトヘトでして。
そう言っとる間は大丈夫だ。
実はガソリンが。
俺の原付の分けてやろう。
ああ、気分が悪くなってきた。
そうか、早く行った方がいいな。
何かあるんですか？
何もない。
He wasn't even looking into my eyes when he said that. He'd gotten on his scooter and saw me off until the crossroads. Man, what a great guy. I didn't expect him to go this far. Yeah, right. Why the hell did he want me out so badly? It's a conspiracy, man. I'm telling you. There's a Kama Fujiyoshi conspiracy. Well, at least the rain stopped. This was the only good thing about this. Was this some special time of year when the presence of outsiders was bad? Was it worth chasing me out, even if it seemed unnatural? It seemed like a decent guess, even if the mist hadn't shown up for decades now. If the legends were deeply rooted in local culture, there would still be related traditions alive. Or maybe he was sure something bad was going to happen. Or was he on the side that'd make it happen? Ooh-hoo-hoo. I don't know about that. But we've talked about the landslide a few times, I think. That's certainly a point of suspicion. Did they have the means to create such a dense mist? Mist happened when the air cooled and the water vapor in the air couldn't stay gaseous. It was basically small water droplets. The mechanism by which they worked could easily be replicated in a lab. They even did it on educational TV. Though, I found it hard to believe they could reproduce a scale vast enough to hide an entire settlement. They'd need some device that'd no doubt be large and heavy, and it'd have to be in the Saranaga Rapids of all places. Though, I'd only been to Saranaga when I couldn't see anything, either because it was at night or misty. You know, I do wonder... I don't think we ever got the word from Chiemi. You know, obviously, events transpired that, you know, we weren't thinking about it, but what was she doing the night she found us? Remember we found a big flashlight? And she was out and about. She didn't have the flashlight. We found it on the ground. And yet she was around there for some reason. Though I'd only been to Saranaga when I couldn't see anything, either because it was night or misty. If the mist was made by some huge machine put there by Kamafujiyoshi people, I'd be really pissed, to say the least. Though Takumi-san did say he'd had to pick up corpses from Saranaga. Even if it was a forbidden ground, it wasn't likely they could just install a device like that there without anyone noticing. That was how it was in some novel, wasn't it? The corpse was there to begin with, but they just couldn't perceive it. I do not know the novel. I'd have liked to believe in something a tad more realistic. In the end, I had to keep going toward the area called Kachihara. Now that I think about it, in some VNs before this, that's actually sort of been the question at times. It's a question of, is this a mundane thing, a supernatural thing, or is it a mix of both? You know? And I guess with some of what Haruaki's saying, maybe it's going to end up being a mix of both sort of thing. I mean, I find this all being just a mundane story to be the most unlikely. So, I don't know. Would that make it much more impressive? if the story managed to pull it off like that? I don't know. In the end, I had to keep going toward the area called Kachihara. Maybe I'd get to rest there. If I returned the next day, the cop would surely snap at me. Would I even go back? The fatigue was getting the better of me. I knew it was a good idea to stop, but no, I actually didn't know it. I wasn't able to think straight. Mist. Now? Was it artificial? No, that didn't make sense. My mind was hazy, and I could no longer make sense of anything. This is like when it was in those bad ends. Oh, my goodness. This was a bad end? Wow, I am surprised. Bad ending number 8. That one got me. I'm surprised. I guess going for the obvious answer is not correct. This is our third vehicular death we've had. Uh-oh.
ここはちょっと説明むずいな。今回のバッドエンド8、題して 駐在のおっさんの不自然な親切で謎死についてだが、今回キー5が手に入ってるだろ。それを使う場所を考えるとなんとなくわかるかもな。他のキーの入手方法を考えつつ、4潜入の9尋問の回答はに戻ってみな。つうわけで今回はここまで。次も元気に死んでこい。そういう夢だったってわけだ。次はもっとうまくやれ。羊が1匹、羊が2匹。
Well then, you know, you told me that, Sheep, but I'm curious. What if we go... Well, first of all, let's check this out. Nice officer. I think I have to enter Yasumizu through Kama Fujiyoshi to participate in the feast, but I was arrested by a local cop who kicked me out of Fujiyoshi before I'd even get the chance to get in. I was swallowed by the mist afterwards, and it seemed I'd gotten in an accident and died. I probably said the wrong things. I need to come up with a different way. Fair enough. I see. Well, let's go for the more specific answer. I had an idea.
実は、その...
Ooh. Giving him a sob story, maybe?
なんだいえ。
心に決めた女性が、この辺りにいるって聞いて、追ってきたんですよ。
Are you gonna say it's Jamie? This could be spicy. There. He acted like he didn't care, but he was definitely interested. Here in human society, love stories were a supreme form of entertainment, and a good excuse for doing all sorts of weird things. Anything was possible when a guy, or girl, was involved.
そりゃあ、そうは言うても、ここいらで東京行っとったもんがおったとは聞かんぞ。
So you know everyone here, huh?
いえ、会ったのは別の場所で。
ほう。
あれは僕が鳥インフルエンザの後遺症で軽井沢に静養に行った時。
And so, I wove for him a dramatically majestic story of how I'd grown close to the woman I dedicated my life to. The cop was really into it. He looked like he didn't care at first, but by the time I got to the part where she first invited me to her house, he displayed a childlike enthusiasm. Eventually, we became true lovers, but she said she couldn't throw away her childhood home, which led to a tearful goodbye. At that point, the cop was fully invested in the girl returning back home.
それで君は都会を捨ててこっち来る決意をしたと。ほう。
He smiled like he was about to pat me. I definitely captured his heart.
しかし、そんな若い娘おったか？なんつう子だ、君のフィアンセは。
Here we go. Is it gonna be Chammy or is he gonna make up a name? Let's hear it. There it was. Everyone in rural areas knew each other, so trying to make up a person wouldn't get anywhere. But that wasn't a problem for me. I had the perfect name in mind.
芹沢千恵美って子です。
Now remember, she was exiled from here.
帰れ。
Ooh, swing and a miss.
え？
帰れ。今すぐ出てけ。すぐ。
Not surprised, actually. He stood up and approached me so menacingly, I felt he was about to attack me. And Yeah. In the end, he jumped on his scooter and led me to some crossroads, clearing town and getting me as far away from Fuji as possible. I was heading from Kachihara area. The rain had already stopped, but it's tiring to drive along the still slick asphalt. I knew Chiemi and Fujiyoshi were distant, to say the least, and since she'd been out of the village, they couldn't have known what she'd been up to. I thought that'd make my story more believable, but what the hell was that reaction? Oh, come on, Haruaki. You could have guessed that. We know she was... Remember we got the story with she beat the kids with the baseball bat? And they were at least somehow related to the head families in some way. And so she got exiled. I mean, come on, that was somewhat likely, I think. The thing that set him off was Chiemi's name. She told me she had almost killed someone with a bat. Was her reputation that bad? Even if it was that the right reaction to make? You'd expect something like, I really think you shouldn't, and the like. Was it because she was from Yasumizu? That makes sense. If they didn't want outsiders to know about Yasumizu, it makes sense for them to chase away anyone who would come in to meet her. But that only made them look more suspicious. Anyway, what now? Maybe I try it again after getting some rest at the nearest town, but from what I could tell, entering Yasumizu, the fatigue was getting better of me. I knew it was a good idea to stop, but no, actually I did. Here is the mist. Ba ba ba. Ba ba ba. Taboo name. You know, I'm somewhat surprised by how quickly we're getting these keys. I think I have to enter Yasumi's and participate in the feast. I managed to spend a good lie to the local cop, but he suddenly changed when I said Chiemi's name and hit me out of the village. I was swallowed up by the mist afterwards. It seemed I got in an accident and died. I wonder how the people come to see her. In any case, saying her name won't do any come a different way. Yep. There's only 20 keys, and I feel like at the rate we're getting them is feels somewhat fast. All right, give it to me. I need to hear you, sheep.
残念。やっちまったな、大将。
So I have.
また厄介なことになったな。さあ、どんなヒントを出したもんか。今回のバッドエンド9、題して、ちえみの名前が超反応して謎死についてだが。
That is definitely a descriptive title.
手に入ったキー6の中身と、それを使える場所の関係をシナリオチャートでよく見てみな。4、潜入の9、尋問の回答はに戻りつつ、他のキーを探すんだ。
Yeah, I gotcha.
そこまでかな。
Yep. Understood. See you later, Mr. Sheep.
次はもっとうまくやれ。羊が1匹、羊が2匹。
Okay. Well, let's do it then.
で、なんで来た?
Snap? We're gonna snap. Okay. I want to see this. I want to see a Haruaki that snaps. Ooh. To be fair, this man has died in vehicle accidents about 4 times now, so I would also be upset, actually.
ここは日本だ。移動の自由がある。いつ何時どこにいようが僕の自由だろこら。
It's everything I would have wanted.
なんだ貴様おら。
Get him,
いい加
Haruaki.
減こっちは死に飽きてんだ。戻ろうがなんだろうが死ぬのも結構辛いんだぞこら。
てめえこれタコこら。
どうせこのルートもダメなんだろう。おい次はなんだ裸踊りでもしろってのか。いい趣味だな神様。
やれこらクソこら。
つべこべ言わずに止めさせろ。そんで自然な感じで休みずに入らせろ。うわー
いや暴れ出した。なんだこいつ。もしもしもしもし。了解射殺します。
Oh my goodness. That escalated so quickly. That was funny. I think I have to answer Yasumizu through Kamafuji Yoshi to participate in the feast, but I was arrested by a local cop and proceeded to snap and get shot. Even I don't know what I said. What the hell was that? There's only so far you can take a joke. Anyway, I need to come up with a different way. Yeah, I want to know what the sheep says this time around. Lay it on me. Let me hear it.
やっちまったな大将。いや、やっちまったっていうか、まあヒントを一応言っとくか。
Sure, go ahead.
今回のバッドエンド10、題して謎展開で射殺についてだが、まあノリはともかく警官に力押しはまずいってことで一つ納得してやってくれ。
Well, in general, anyone with a gun you probably shouldn't get violent with, but certainly yes, with police officers as well.
今回キー7が手に入ったってことで、ようやく駐在のおっさんを攻略する材料が揃ったことになるな。
Yeah, just drive real slow, or sneak around, or something.
計3個のキーで開く選択肢は4、潜入の9、入村方法はだ。間違えんなよ。つうわけで今回はここまで。次も元気に死んでこい。そういう夢だったってわけだ。次はもっとうまくやれ。羊が1匹、羊が2匹。
Okay. Okay, so 3 bad ends in a row, huh? Yeah, so he's just died. What are we at now? Are we on 7 deaths? These ones are not necessarily canonical, I guess. If we count the ones we know for sure, I guess canonically we're at 4 deaths. No, we're at 5 deaths, I think. The one before we got in the outhouse, or for leaving the outhouse, the one at the end of Yomi, the main route, and then these 3. So we've had 5 canonical deaths. 2 more if we count these ones. And I mean, there was one where we went into the mist. Did that count as a bad end? So maybe 8? I mean, I can't speak from experience. I don't think I've died before, or at least if I have, I am not aware of it. So I wouldn't know what it's like, but it certainly sounds painful, especially in his case, so I could understand him snapping.
ここまでよ。
Not today, sheep. Drink booze from a convenience store. Ah, okay. Well, we're gonna save that for next time, I think. I guess our antics are not over yet. It looks like, unfortunately, we're not actually going to spend that much time in Kama Fujiyoshi, which makes sense, considering we need to get into Yasumizu before the feast starts. But there is certainly the reactions of the cop from the mention of Chiemi and some of the things Haruki said, you know, the landslide and the mist stuff. I do think they're at least hinting a bit more at a potential of a Kama Fujiyoshi conspiracy, which I think is probably that too. Also bringing up the fact that Rokako, you know, had immediately given Mako a place. Also heard some interesting stuff about the potential nature of these wolves and the corruption, maybe? Something to think about. Okay. In any case, next time we will apparently get drunk. I guess that's the answer to all our problems here. Yeah, that should be fun. In any case, I've been the Worm. This has been Raging Loop. I'm happy to be back at it. Thanks again for everyone who commented, and I hope you'll stick with me as we continue our journey here. The keys definitely, the rate that we're getting them is a bit concerning to me, since it seems like at the rate we're getting them, the story might be a bit shorter than I thought it would be. But, you know, the story is going to be however long it needs to be. So hopefully I just get to enjoy it for what it is. Hope you're all doing well, and hope to see you next time.